Video we're going to look at the content editor in a bit more detail. This is where you'll do the majority of your editing on the website for adding, editing and removing content. The content editor is the same across posts and pages, so once you get to grips with one, you'll be able to transfer those across to the other. The key thing to remember with the content editor is it works off something called blocks. A block is essentially a section of content, and what you'll do is use these blocks to build your Lego page almost. So you'll slot them all together and end up with the finished content. The blocks can be moved and edited and tweaked to give you different layouts and things. Typically try and keep it fairly simple, but you do have quite a bit of freedom with it. So what is a block? On the page here you can see test. This is the title of the page, and then you can see a bit of copy underneath. This is one of the blocks. I'm just going to put the top toolbar off, and you can see that toolbar is now linked to that block we've got selected. What I could do then is go options, and then I can duplicate, and you can see we now have two blocks on the website. So this is block 1, and underneath this is block 2. Now once you have the blocks in place, you can drag and drop and arrange them. So for example, this one, we can drag it and drop it like that, or you can use the arrow keys to move them up and down. Typically the arrow keys tend to work better, but what you can also do is use the Document Explorer overview, which is up here. So if we select that and see list view, you can see a list of all of the blocks on the website, and you can see as I hover over, they're highlighted there. So if we take another one and then duplicate that, for example, we've then got 3 different blocks. So if we change this one to 2, and then this one at the top we want to change to 3, and on the left here, if we click this one and drag it and put that one at the top, you can see we've now got block number 1 at the top. If we select this one and drag that to the bottom, it can be a bit finicky sometimes. Okay, let's do it the other way then. Take 2 and put 2 above. There we go. You can see you've got 1, 2, 3. Again, you might find it easy to use these arrow keys once you've got the block selected. You can also use these on the left to select the block and then move the block up and down using the toolbar here. Adding new blocks to the website, there's several different ways of doing this. The default is a paragraph one. So if I go to the end of the paragraph here and hit enter, this will automatically create a new paragraph block, and it's got a hint there saying type / to choose a block. What you can also do is just start typing, and what this will do is keep it as a paragraph block. So if I enter again, but this time do /, I get a prompt of the commonly used blocks on the website, and you can choose which block you want from here. So I'm going to select heading, and what this will do is it'll give us a heading block. This is a heading, and you can see it has different styles associated with it, but it's a block the same as the others. So I can move it up through the content using the arrow, or again drag it on that left hand side overview, which again we get to using this overview button here. The blocks have different settings. So if I have this one, our heading one, the new block we created selected, you can see it's a H2. This is the default for headings, because on a website you'll have one heading 1, which is the test, the top bit here, and then you can have heading 2s underneath that in the same way that you would structure a document. But what if you wanted a heading 3? Well, if we click those 3 icons at the end and just duplicate the block, which is a really handy thing to do if you're trying to go for consistent layouts, and in this case highlight the new heading, you can click on the H2 and you can change the heading here. It does give you the option for heading 1, but again the page title is typically the heading 1, so you shouldn't really be selecting that. We want a heading 3, you select heading 3 and it changes that to H3 and changes the styles accordingly, so that we now have a heading 2 and we have a heading 3. If you want to change it back, click on the H3 and you'll be able to click on the H2 and it's now a heading 2. But what if we wanted this as a paragraph? instead of a heading, but we've already added it. To do this, if you click on the heading icon here, it'll then ask you which one you want to transform it to, so we can then just select paragraph, and you can see that's now gone back to being a paragraph. If you want it back as a heading, highlight it again, and this time it's telling you this is a paragraph block, but we want it to be a heading, so select heading, and then that's changed it back to being a heading. Again, in this case, defaulting to H2, so let's just change that to H3, and that's how we do headings. You have other blocks available to you. So if we go underneath and press add again, enter to give it a new line, but this time what I'm going to do is press the plus button in the top left, and this will give us a list of all of the blocks that are available on the website. You have default WordPress ones, like the paragraph and headings that we've been dealing with, but then you also have custom blocks. So in this one you can see there's a category Simpsons Creative Blocks, and this has some custom blocks for this website in particular. With your website you may or may not have these depending on the design. Some of our websites have several of them, some don't have any at all. It's just this is how you get to them if you do have them or need them. If I scroll back up to the top though, you can see the text one, which are the default ones. You have the option for searching at the top here, so if you wanted something you knew what it was, you could put it in here. In the same way, when you're doing a // such as here, you can start typing the name of the block, and as you type the list will change, and once you have it selected, hit enter, and that will insert the block you're looking for. This is an image block. To use the image blocks, once you've got it inserted, you can upload a new image. If you select that, it'll ask you where you want to go to find the image. You can also use the media library. The media library, which we'll cover in more detail later, is all of the media that's been added to the website already. So if we select this image and then press select, you can see it's inserted the image into the post there directly. Let's get the document overview up again, and you can see we have an image block here. You also have the controls at the top here as well. So if we move it up, you can see it's moving up through the content, and this is one of the ways that you'll be able to arrange the content on the site. On the right hand side here, which if you don't see, you can get to with this icon at the top here called settings. As you can see, it's toggling that on and off. You have the option for adding alt text, alternative text. This is a way of describing the image for screen readers, but also has an SEO impact. So we're just going to put image of a laptop. You can see my spelling mistake there, so that's right and click and correct, which is really important to make sure that's correct, because if you get it spelt wrong, it won't read it out properly or won't give you the SEO impact. That's where the alt text goes. Underneath you can choose the image size, whether you wanted it to be full size, and that'll be the size that you've uploaded it to the website at. We'll cover image sizes in a later video, but you also have large, medium and thumbnail, which give you smaller images. Underneath that you have the option for overwriting the image dimensions, and this will let you give it a custom width and height should you need it, as well as the percentage options there. But if we just put that back to large for the time being, if you want to replace the image, highlight the image or select it on the left hand side here, and then you have the option for replace, and you can upload or open the media library again. So if we select another image, press select, and you can see it's switched around with the new image. If you switch the image, you'll need to make sure you update the alt text, because that's dependent on the image itself. There's another way of adding blocks. If we hover on the right hand side here, you can see you get an add block icon, and that brings up a quick prompt here. So if we select the image again, you can see we've got another image block there. Again, with WordPress there tends to be several different ways of doing the same thing, but depending on what you're doing, one of the ways may be quicker or easier for you. You'll find the one that works for you best, and you'll use that moving forward. Once we've got our page where we kind of want it, what you can do is hit preview, and then preview in a new tab, and what this will do is it will open a new tab with your edited content here. So this will be, if it's a new page, it will show you the content. If it's an existing page, it will show you the new version that you have in your editor here at the moment, and it just gives you a chance to check that everything's okay and as expected before you hit update, or if it's a new page post, publish. If you're happy with those changes, you can hit update, and it will submit those and they'll be live instantly on your website. Okay, let's have a look at a few more blocks to give us some more flexibility with the layout. I'm just going to highlight that and then press remove image, there we go, and then remove paragraph, and let's remove the heading and take out some of the bits that we weren't using. Okay, top of the page I'm going to hit enter, and what I'm going to look for is the column block. So if I do / and start typing columns, you can see it gives us the option there, and this pops up and it says what arrangement of columns do you want. And a column block is a really good way of being able to split the page into 2 columns. So in this instance, let's choose 50-50, but it does give you a 1/3 and 2/3 and 3 column options as well. Try and keep things simple. So let's just go for the 50-50. Now you can see on the editor here we have 2 dotted outlines that shows column 1 and column 2. Columns can get a little bit confusing, so I'd recommend using the document overview model, because you can see columns here, which is the block, and then you have nested blocks inside, which is column 1 and column 2. This document overview on the left lets you select the columns as a whole, which can be a little bit tricky to do in this editor here. And as you can see on the right hand side, the options are changing depending on what you're selecting. So the columns block dictates how many columns there are. So if we want 3 or 4, you can increase it here, or again if we only want 2, you can decrease it. It also gives you the option for stacking them on mobile, and what this means is any content you put in these 2 columns, when the screen size comes down to mobile size, that right hand column will stack underneath the left one. We'd recommend leaving this on to improve usability on mobiles. If we select that first column there, this is where you can define the width if you want to change it. If you click on the option on the right hand side there, you've got pixels and percentages as well as a few others. If we select percentage and put 60 in, and then select the other column, and again let's go percentage and let's do 40, we now have a 60% width and a 40% width column. Now we have the columns in place, the next job is to start adding content into the columns. So as we've got that column selected, you can see it says add block. So if we click on that plus symbol, we get the prompt to add a new block. Let's do a paragraph, and this is a test. On the left there you can see here's our columns block with the left hand column, and then you have a paragraph which is nested inside the column block here. With that selected, let's take this paragraph, and if I drag and drop it, you can see we now have 2 paragraphs, and that's the second paragraph block that was previously underneath that we've now got in that left hand column. You can do the same for images as well. So if I take this block and I drag that underneath, you can see that we now have the image in that column as well. On the right hand side, if we press add block and let's do image, and then we can choose media library, let's take another image and insert it, you can now see that we have an image on the left and an image on the right. I'm going to take paragraph and just drag that underneath the image so that we have an image at the top of the left column and an image at the top of the right column, and then you'll see how they align at the top. The images are different sizes and the columns are different sizes, which is why they're not aligning at the bottom. But it's important to check this if you want the 2 to be consistent. It's quite easy to have, say, a stray paragraph at the top of one, especially if you've got an empty one that you may not be able to see easily, that will give you an incorrect layout. So by using this document overview, you can spot that, hang on a minute, there's a column and an image, but there's a paragraph in between that one, and simply move it out of the way to make sure that you get the layout that you're looking for. Okay, the other thing we can do here is if I select that option, the 3 little dots, you can then remove columns, and that'll take the columns out altogether. So we're back to having a simple 1 column layout. The next thing we're going to look at is inserting links. Now I'm just going to hit enter and do / and then select an image. Let's get another one from the media library. Okay, so What I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the Simpsons website. Let's go to the home page, and I'm going to get the URL, right hand click and copy. By doing this, you're confirming that the URL is working and it's correct before you add it to the website. So if we go back to our editor here, I'm going to select that little bit of copy there with the cursor. You can see it's blue because it's selected, and then in the toolbar above you get this link icon here. So if I select that, it's searching or typing the URL, but what I'm going to do is I'm just going to paste it in, and then you can hit apply, and you can see that the text is now changed to indicate that there's a link in place. If I click on it, you can see we have the remove or unlink option here, which will take the link out, but then you also have the option to open in a new tab. So if I select that, let's just click on it again to confirm. Yep, it's opening in a new tab. If that link is now clicked, the user's browser will open a new tab so that they don't leave your website. Would suggest doing this for external links as well as PDF documents or Word document zips, that sort of thing. If it's just a link to another page on your website, don't open it in a new tab, because you'll end up having multiple tabs on the user's device, and that's not good from a usability point of view. It's only if you're linking to a document or an external site that you should use that. We're just going to hit unlink to take the link out, and then click on the image underneath, and you can see you get the same link icon with the image selected. You can see the image is selected on the left as well. So we're going to insert a link, and again paste the link in and then hit apply, and then that image is linking through to the Simpsons site in the same way that the text was previously. If we go underneath the image here and then we just add a new block, the next thing we're going to look at using is the button block. So if I type button, you get buttons up here. We can click on this, and then you can add the text here. There we go. I'm just going to close the search there, and then go back to document overview and click on the buttons option here. Now, buttons also have nested, because you get a buttons block and then you have an individual button itself. So if we have the text selected and then do link, paste the Simpsons link in again, apply, that button is now linking to the Simpsons website. So if I open in a new tab, because it's an external site to this test site, you can see there's a button in place there. We can adjust the width settings here, but we can also click on buttons and change how the buttons behave. So if we want to center the button, we can center the button here, for example. The other thing we can also do, if we click on the buttons and then duplicate, we now have two buttons. And again, you can do this again for however many buttons that you need on that section. These buttons act as a call to action, so don't have too many, because you'll take away the importance of the section of call to action. If you need more, maybe split them up with some text or pictures, for example. The buttons will display differently on the website depending on your theme. So if you find that the buttons aren't quite what you need visually on the front end, let us know and we can update the theme accordingly. Okay, if we take the buttons out to keep things tidy, I'm going to insert a new one, and this time I'm going to do list. This is a bullet point list, so you can say item 1, I'm going to hit enter and then do item 2, enter item 3, and so on. If I hit enter once, you can see it's ready to type the next item, but if I hit it again, it'll end the bullet points and start a new paragraph item there. So if you're in the flow typing, that's how you can do it without having to use your mouse to select a new paragraph. If you need a new item in this instance, just click at the end of the old one, hit enter, and again you get the option for adding a new item there. Go to document overview, you can see there's the list, and then you can see the individual list items there. So if you wanted to change the order, you can drag or drop or move them up and down with these, or you can select and then remove list item to remove it from the list. The other thing we can do here now, and this works in paragraphs as well, is highlight it, and let's make that one bold by clicking on the B, and let's highlight that one and make that italic by clicking on the italic option there. Okay, the next one we're going to have a look at doing is if I do /, I'm going to type YouTube, and you can see there's a YouTube option here, and that'll insert a new YouTube block. And what you can do here is go to YouTube, find the YouTube video URL, paste it in here and press embed, and that'll embed a YouTube video into your page directly. Hopefully this gives you more confidence in editing the content on a website. And again, everything we've covered here while in the post section also applies to pages as well.